اشفع لنا من القرآن يا الله. نسألك يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القابض الباسط الخافض الرافع المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم العدل اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيت الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواسع الحكيم الودود المجيد الباعث الشهيد الحق الوكيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحسن المبدئ المعيد المحيي المميت الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الأحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المقدم المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعالي البر التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني المغني المانع الضار النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الوارث الرشيد الصبور اللهم صل أفضل الصلاة على أسعد مخلوقاتك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم عدد معلوماتك ومداد كلماتك كلما ذكرك ذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون.
Praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have been graced by the chance to gather in this momentous ceremony. Before we continue, let us begin with the recitation of dua that will be led by Associate Professor Dr. Ibrahim Farhat Sulaiman, Senior Lecturer from the Faculty of Leadership and Management. Please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. O Allah, our Lord, the most gracious, the most merciful, we gather here today to seek for your mercy and guidance. O Allah, our Lord, we would like to express our gratitude to you for this ceremony. Today, make us your servant who are always grateful for your sustenance and blessings. Indeed, you are the most gracious, most giving. O Allah, we gather today to make this officiating ceremony a successful for this UNESCO K4C, the knowledge for change. So make this gathering easy so that it runs smoothly and full of blessings. O Allah, grant us knowledge, immunize our hearts with your guidance. Indeed, you are all hearing, all knowing. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا مترودا ولا مرحوما. اللهم اجعل خير أعمالنا آخره وخير أعمالنا خواتمه وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك فيه. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin Amin Ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you to Dr. Ibrahim for the beautiful recitation of dua. Before we begin, allow me to share a little bit about today's program. The Knowledge for Change, or K4C, initiative is a global movement led by the UNESCO Chair in Community-Based Research, aiming to strengthen collaboration between universities and communities in creating knowledge that benefits society. Today's event marks USIM's role as a regional training center for K4C in Asia, bringing together partners from across the region to share experiences, build capacities, and explore innovative ways to integrate community-based research and teaching for sustainable development. Without further ado, we will now hear the opening speech from Associate Professor Dr. Nohayati Rafida Abdurrahim, Deputy Dean of Faculty Leadership of Management. Please welcome Dr.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Our Honorable Professor Dato Dr. Tauffik Noor, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rajesh, Tandon, Dr. Arjan, the Honorable Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dato Dr. Dzulkifli, Associate Professor, we have here Dr. Muhammad Maliki. This is our second time, inshallah. Will be more afterwards, inshallah. Dr. Nabila Nailin, UINSA. Yeah, welcome to Malaysia and USIM. Noor Wahyudi, the lecturer from UNISA as well. Dr. Wendy, Professor Dr. Ahmad Ismail, and all K4C mentors, participants, and distinguished guests. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So on behalf of the Dean, the Dean of Faculty of Leadership and Management, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rushdan, send his salam to everyone. So inshallah, on behalf of him, we feel so blessed, and it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you to have this memorable occasion, the launching ceremony of the UNESCO Knowledge for Change Regional Training Center Asia USIM. So first and foremost, we would like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to Yang Berbahagia Professor Dato Dr. Muhammad Tauffik Muhammad Noor, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, for gracing this event and for the continuous support, I would say unconditional support from him to given to the faculty and the K4C initiative. Your leadership and encouragement have been instrumental in nurturing a strong research ecosystem at USIM, one that bridges academia and community for meaningful impact, inshallah. So allow me also to warmly welcome our Honorable Dr. Rajesh Tandon, co-chair of the UNESCO Chair in Community-Based Research and Social Responsibility in Higher Education. Dr. Rajesh, your visionary work and unwavering commitment to participatory inclusive knowledge creation have inspired many around the world, including us here at USIM. It's indeed an honor to have you with us today. So we also deeply honored by the presence of Dr. Arjan Haan. Did I spell it correctly? Dr. Arjan Haan, Senior Program Specialist from the International Development Research Center. Thank you, Dr. Arjan, for your continuous engagement and contribution to the global K4C movement and for supporting efforts to strengthen community-based research capacity across regions. And I got to know that you just arrived this morning. It's a long way, isn't it? Okay. So to all our honorable guests, partners, mentors, mentees from within Malaysia and across Asia, welcome to USIM and thank you for joining us today. Your participation reflects the growing spirit of collaboration that defines the K4C global network. USIM is a public university that strives to integrate NACLI and NACLI knowledge, promoting a holistic approach to the education that connects faith, intellect, and character. Through this integration, USIM aims to produce graduates who are not only knowledgeable but also ethical, responsible, and socially engaged. The faculty that where we gathered today, embodies these values. The faculty offers academic programs in leadership, da'wah and Islamic management, counseling, communication, new media, management with tourism, and human resource development, all emphasizing ethical leadership, social responsibility, and community empowerment. So in line with USIM mission of serving for Ummah through knowledge and action, we proudly support the establishment and activities of the Mizan K4C Hub, which has been recognized as part of the UNESCO Knowledge for Change Global Consortium. Congratulations to Dr. Mahazan, Professor Dr. Mahazan, for his endlessly efforts and struggles, fights, pain, isn't it, Prof? Pain, even more meaningful pain. It's not like pain, literally pain. So the hub focuses on community-based participatory research, connecting academics, practitioners, and community members to co-create solutions that are relevant, inclusive, and sustainable. Mizan K4C Hub has conducted various capacity building workshops, mentorship programs, collaborative projects that bridge academic inquiry with real-world community needs. Today's launching of the Regional Training Center, RTC, Asia marks another important milestone in that journey, expanding our shared commitment to knowledge, democracy, and social justice. We believe that RTC will serve as a vibrant platform for training, mentorship, and regional cooperation, empowering a new generation of scholars and practitioners in Asia to lead through collaboration, humility, and empathy. Once again, on behalf of the Dean and the Faculty of Leadership and Management, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to UNESCO, IDRC, the UNESCO chair team, and all local and international partners who have contributed to making this initiative a success. We believe that there are more impactful collaborations coming that strengthen community-based knowledge creation in Asia and beyond. With that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Rafida, for that inspiring and insightful opening speech that highlights USIM's active role in advancing K4C values through education and community engagement. Now, without further ado, let us proceed to our next event. First things first, I would like to welcome Professor Mahzan Abdul Muttalib, Coordinator Mizan K4C Hub, to welcome and come to the stage. Next, I will invite Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dzulkifli Abdul Razak to please come on stage.
Takut lah.
Then I would also like to invite Dr. Arjan Dehan, Senior Program Specialist from IDRC. Last but not least, I would like to invite Dr. Rajesh Tandon to come to the front. So now I will leave the stage to Dr. Mahzan to lead the presentation.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Sarah, student from the Faculty of Leadership Management, honorable guests, yang bahagia Professor Tan Sri Dzulkifli Abdul Razak, founder of Mizan Research Center, and Dr. Arjan Dehan from IDRC, and also our mentor, the initiator of this project, UNESCO co-chair, Dr. Rajesh Tandon, who's fly very far from India, and this is not just his only stop. He's going to Christchurch and many other places where I do not want to say here. He's going to say it on him by himself. So many initiatives under the K4C project. And of course, yang bahagia Professor Dato Dr. Muhammad Tauffik, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, USIM, representing the Vice Chancellor. I've been told that the Vice Chancellor couldn't come today. He asked me to lock his date since last year, but today because he's need to attending a session with the Minister. So thank you very much, Dr. Tauffik, Prof. Dato Tauffik, for coming. And our good life partner, Dr. Maliki from International Youth Center. Thank you very much for being here. The K4C life partner. Huh? I'm sorry I need to steal your husband for a while. Dr. Yati, thank you very much. And of course, representative from many universities, Dr. Wendy from Soka Gakkai, we have here on the left. We have Nabila, mentor, and also we also invited Prof. Ahmad Ismail, another fellow from Malaysia Science Academy. I do not want to forget Kalish from IMU, and also lecturers of this Faculty of Leadership Management. Without, I just put this at the end, all the mentor of K4C who keep helping us from very beginning, even from the first time that we built this hub. I cannot say one by one. Thank you very much for joining from various faculties, and also the new mentor for cohort 2. We have 15 of them, but only alhamdulillah 10 of them arrived Malaysia, and 5 will be joining next year for the residency because of many reasons. Today is Wednesday, right? So Wednesday is a corporate. Everybody wear the same clothes. So some of them are lecturers and some are students. Well, alhamdulillah, we are very lucky today. Yeah, at least we have new faces. We have organizations who are basically keen to follow K4C, Dr. Rajesh Tandon, we have been talking about this since last year. Just a matter of time and opportunity, and also some technical arrangement. What's more important is the networking, where we are basically indebted to the community, where everybody has our own responsibility to our own designated community, even at this soil of this university where there are many indigenous people live here. So it's very challenging, and I think that's the social responsibility, the civic responsibility of higher education personnel, not just the academics, but each one of us. So today we are going to listen from 3 renowned invited speakers. I think no other persons can talk about this, especially Prof. Tan Sri Zul, Dr. Rajesh, and Dr. Arhan Dihan, who are very much into community engagement projects. So we first, maybe I'm not going to deliver a talk. First, maybe I will invite Professor Tan Sri Zul dulu. Can we start with Professor Tan Sri Zul? About the good thing about, yes, many things about Professor Tan Sri Zul that he has shared. The challenge that we basically, everything keep in my mind is like, it is not the project that we have started, and how can we continuously do the same thing and until it become perfect. So that's the first thing I heard from him, 2013. He came to me with a list of work. I really don't know what the list is, how the list is important to us, but we just like following his experience, and finally he came out with the concept of communiversity. Talk since the last 2 or 3 years, promote it very actively at the ministry. I think Dr. Hafiz is here representing the special task force of the service learning of the ministry, knows this. And recently, Prof. Tan Sri and his friend has published an article of communiversity at SAGE. So better for me to hand over the mic and hope Tan Sri can enlighten us about how this is very important for the future of higher education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum, greeting of peace, and a very good afternoon. I suddenly found out that I'm the founder of Mizan. I'm not too sure when this happened. It's a kind of coincidence that I was talking about another one, you know. Anyway, thanks for the recognition, for whatever it is. I am really very humbled to be part of this, because this is a long journey that we started in 2014, and we have now almost 10 years. More than 10 years. I do not, quote unquote, envisage that this will arrive at this particular stage of moving. I mean, it's not easy for academics to do this when everything else around you is still not very settled, particularly launching something which is new. It's going to be very complicated to talk about the communiversity, but I've got a small video, YouTube, Mizan. Can you just launch the YouTube? This will give you a basic idea of what this communiversity is all about. Then I'll go into the details of it. I'm afraid you have to turn your head.
No.
Sit there.
Oh.
Boleh. The idea of a common university is to have an endpoint. Otherwise, you will not have an endpoint, and after a while, you will lose for the clarity of what you want to do. So this is a kind of a desired future of where you want to be. From my point of view, the structure of the present university is not sustainable. We have gone into this discussion now, internationalization, what I call education. Yeah? You use education to make money, not to enrich people intellectually, and all these are a global problem as it were. So we need to set up where our target is, that a community is a two-word combination, community and university combined together, that there is no more separation between the community and the university. Both are places where we can learn, both are places we can work, and for people who are not able to go into the university will have to go to them. And this is where the community is important for us. Yeah? Muhammad cannot go to the mountain, or mountain cannot go to Muhammad, Muhammad goes to the mountain. That's a kind of thing that we do. But everybody must have education. They cannot be deprived of education. The moment they are deprived of education, then this whole idea of getting a society that's equitable, just, and fair will not happen. And I think it is a question that we are trying to address today. Are you okay, Nizam? 2 more minutes. I'll have 2 more minutes. So it starts off with this whole idea of, from my point of view, regional centers of excellence, which talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development, I think, again, is another key project of the United Nations, which was supposed to end in the year 2030 to ensure that many of the goals that we were reaching for will be quote-unquote achievable. Now, to do this is to make this project, quote unquote, viable in the community itself. So, K4C will be one of the carriers for this, so that we understand exactly where we are going to as far as the community is concerned. Basically, from my point of view, is to get the student out of the classroom. During my time, I think mungkin during Rajesh's time also, school do not exist as it was today. We are locked up listening to one man giving a lecture, one woman giving a lecture, and then after that, you're supposed to memorize and exams at the end of the day. In my case, it is not the way. Okay now?
No, it's not there yet. Yeah.
Not there yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll give you a very simple example when we adopt a school. And this is a school for the natives. Yeah? And that school we adopted because 80% absenteeism, 80. Right? So we were wondering why so many people do not want to go to school. The school is nice, it's a modern school, and so on and so forth. Later on, we found out they don't want to go to school because they are not allowed to climb trees in the school. One of their, cultural habits is to climb trees, and trees is part of their life, as it were.
Done. All right. Done.
Okay? Let me finish the school story. I'll continue later.
Right.
So we changed the rule and said, look, now you can climb trees. Out of 10 trees, 7 they can climb. And we got the 80% back within 1 month.
Oh.
No rocket science. It's that their cultural values and our cultural values do not meet. So the moment we negotiate and we find out this is what they want, we got the 80% back within 1 month. And there are more stories to that, but let's look at this one first because it's important. Can you switch off the lights a little bit?
Crises, it is time to scrutinize the current purpose of education and how universities should deal with the grand challenge of planetary dimensions to existential well-being. Existing university ranking systems fail to capture the ethos of education, particularly in addressing sustainability issues. Metrics, as it generally is, tend to overshadow a university's dedication to environmental stewardship, community engagement, and social inclusivity. This hinders our ability to recognize institutions driving positive change towards real-world situations. Recently, a UNU IITH-convened expert group released an independent report on university ranking, noting the evolving issues with the approach adopted. Marian Lloyd, one of the independent experts, emphasizes the perverse incentives of current rankings. Short-sighted obsession over rankings can be harmful, as it could jeopardize the bigger picture. Mainstream ranking institutions tend to be biased, inaccurate, unreliable, and oftentimes promotes short-term solutions and causes educational institutions to neglect the main objectives of education. It is often commercially driven, manipulative, and is plagued with conflicts of interest. Ranking scandals indicate a much deeper problem, a crisis of identity and purpose within higher education. Former Malaysian Minister of Higher Education, Noor, calls for a more flexible approach to education rather than having one size fitting all, as it is integral in being future resilient. Ellen Hazelborn calls for a more holistic, equitable, and context-sensitive measuring method, as excellence can be defined in different ways. There is a need for a paradigm shift to sustainability and holistic development approaches, and elements that contribute significantly to real-life impact in how we assess the impacts of universities. Consequently, there has been a global shift towards measuring more than the conventional aspects of universities. However, there is a need for a new model, which consists of 5 fundamentals that are more reflective of the essence of universities. Community transformation and leadership, looking into effective governance, engagement processes, and results-oriented strategies is one. Institutional collaboration, with a focus on the 5 P's quadruple helix model, and working in a quadruple helix collaboration approach is another. Responsible research and innovation that promotes inclusivity, authenticity, community orientation, consideration of
technical glitch. Thanks. The rest are just examples of the 5 elements of communiversity. Maybe we can just stop this for a while so that we don't.
And finally, sustainable entrepreneurship to produce social innovations committed towards sustainability. Communiversity has garnered the support of various academicians who highlight the importance of shifting our focus from previous measures to a new paradigm of social institutions. It is time for universities to redefine success. For this, we need to embrace a new era of university. Together, we can shape a future where universities are not just institutions of learning, but beacons of sustainable social, economic, environmental nexus of the future.
I think we generally got an idea of what this communiversity is all about. What I'm going to tell you today, how do we implement this in our university? It's no longer an if or when, it's already happening, and how it is going to be realized, quote unquote, in other universities if you are interested in. Now, I want to start with my previous university, which is IUM. When we think that the structure of university is no longer useful, when we talk about community as such. So we made a deliberate decision in year 2021 that every student that comes into the university from that year will have to work with the community in the form of a project. So they are grouped into a group of 10, so 3,000, we have got about maybe, 100 groups or so. How do we actually make this work? So they are given an assignment for the first semester to go into the community and find out what is the problem of the community that they want to solve in a group of 10. Right? So then they will take this problem, they will do quote unquote a kind of a proposal. Before that, they are exposed to what we call community profiling. community engagement, community problem solving, and community report writing, and so on and so forth. So all this has been given to them as a new skill that was never before. We always talk about industry more often than not. So this is what given to them, and they use this skill to draft that particular report in the first semester. At the end of the first semester, they will submit the report to us. We will look at it and we'll put things right wherever we think it's not right. And the second semester, they will implement it. So they'll go back to the community and make sure whatever problem they want to solve, they get to solving the problem. Second semester done, and then the third semester. The third semester, they will then present whatever they have achieved. Whether they successfully or not, it's not an issue. It's a kind of an experience learning that they've got. For that, we call people from outside, the NGOs, philanthropy, people from the ministries, appropriate ministry, to be quote unquote the referee of what project they are going to present. And then these people will give kind of comments whether this is a project that they are interested in, this is a project that is relevant to them, and so on and so forth. But finally, there are a number of projects that will be sponsored by the people who like the project. So the project becomes quote unquote self-sustaining. You don't have to ask money from the university. You don't have to ask money from even the students. It is self-sustaining in a particular sense. All right. Now the first year we were not very successful because of the COVID and so on and so forth. Very unsettled. But even then, more than 100 projects was successfully accomplished. In other words, they have managed to solve the problem. Whether they are able to solve the problem, this will be quote unquote evaluated by the community itself. We don't call a PhD from somewhere else and say you are successful, but the people who are actually involved from day one until the end of the project will tell us that this project is successful, we will benefit from it, and we want it to be continued. So the evaluator is the user of that project or the beneficiaries of that project. Right? Now, when that happens, then we will then document it into a kind of a database. And that database will be then used for the next group of people who, for next year, they will come in and they will do the same thing. Yeah, they will find project. If the project is similar, then they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They will go to the database, pick up the project that they want, and continue from there. So there is a life for the project, a longevity in the life at the end of the day, because when you talk about transformation, it has to be at least 3 to 5 years. We cannot expect 3 months to solve a project. Yeah? When I was a student, kita kata bakti siswa. We go to the bakti siswa, kita potong rumput, and 2 months the rumput grow again, and we will go and get bakti siswa. And that's about it. The bakti siswa is for us, but orang kampung gets nothing. So now it has changed because then there will be sort of beneficiary for the community because they are part and parcel of the project. And this is where the co-learning comes in. And this is where the co-creativity comes in. They will have to give their input into the project. And that's why the word community was created. There's no more boundaries between school and university and the project. Yeah? So as of 2024, when I left that university, we have got more than 600 projects that is accomplished. Right? It ranges from simple project to a very complicated one, depending on how difficult the project is, as far as the community is concerned. Now, for that 3 years, more than 10,000 students have gone to the community. More than 7,000 people have benefited from the community project that the student is involved. The location now is more than 300 locations around the country. All right? And it involves, I think, at least 200 to 250 supervisors as it is. Now, we don't have to have too much supervisors because the students are empowered to make their own decision. Plus, the professors are not even capable of doing this because none of them are exposed to this. Yeah? So this becomes a self-sustaining project. that the student at the end of the day become quote unquote knowledge producers, because they do the extraction of information, they use the information, they apply the information, and it's all about them. So this is where we envisage learning has changed, not just a one-way monologue, but it is something that they become an enterprise by itself, that they direct their own learning, they own direct their own education in that particular respect. So this is now has got the attention of the United Nations University. We are going to discuss about this in October 21st in Okayama when we meet again, and how this would be the next level of education moving forward under the what we call sustainable development goal and for the year 2030. Yeah? So basically that is what community university is all about, and we have demonstrated it is viable, it is workable, and it is in fact even on demand as far as students concerned. The student will tell me this one quotation that I still remember. Dia kata, Tan Sri, 3 months in the community is worth more than 3 years in a university. We learn a lot more on our own. We don't need a textbook. We don't need even quote unquote a structure that you have so complicated in university. We can learn by ourselves using the expertise and the wisdom of the community. In university, a lot of knowledge. I'm sorry, there's not so much wisdom. The wisdom is still embedded in the community. And these are the things that I think will make the whole idea of learning moving forward different. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Zul. I think at least I hope from the video and from the explanation we can understand now that the communiversity doesn't just do community service, but also involve mostly on these important concepts of students empowerment, delegation, the work. We delegate the work to the students, and the best part is how communities basically assess the quality of the work, whether it really answers the needs. That is things that we need to maybe integrate it in our work. For at least it is almost same with what we do in K4C, but we really focus on this participatory model and the partners in a strategic manner. We focus on some specific focus to solve community issues, and finally we bring up as well the knowledge of the community to be stored in the university. So maybe before we move to the Dr. Arjan now, how do you think? What do you think about this effort of community engagement, and from your observations about doing research in community engagement at higher education, what is the prospect? Maybe you can also include that questions in your points that you want to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I thought I knew what I was going to say, but after your presentation, sir, I'm a bit lost for words. I think it is very similar to what K4C did, but it's revolutionizing those principles, right? So and the most important thing, congratulations on this, and I'm so happy that I'm here to learn about this. I wasn't aware of that. I wanted to, and I'll come back to what my organization does. I want to make it's something we discussed with Rajesh when in our IDRC office in Delhi last week, which was on a day where Canada commemorated history with Indigenous people. There was an expression that was used there, and I really want people to keep that in mind as the history of our educational institutions. Indigenous kids in I was going to say in India. It happened. You said it happens in India. It's happened everywhere. But this is in Canada, where in the 19th, well into the 20th century, up to like I could have been in residential school if I'd been an Indigenous kid. It's so just about it is so recent. The expression that was used there was indigenous kids were put in residential school to take the Indian out of the child. The education was there to teach certain norms of what it was to be a Canadian, which was not indigenous. This was a colonial educational system. The problem with the colonial educational system that it has been and still is a global system. It was never, and I want people challenge me on this. I'm an historian, increasingly thinking about this. The education systems were not set up to work with communities. In fact, they were often certainly with indigenous people, it's almost doing the opposite, right? It's imposing certain norms of what was a Canadian to be citizen. So I want us to keep that in mind. But let me go tell you a little bit as I'm as I work for IDRC and I'm so privileged to have supported this strand of work. Maybe tell you a little bit about where I see this movement is going. I call it a movement, and I think you call it. I mean, you are a movement, and this is kind of revolutionizing that work. So I think it's IDRC. Well, a little bit longer back is like the origin of participatory development, including participatory research in the after the Second World War was in this international project of development, if you like, which originated in Europe out of the devastation of the war and an international solidarity. There's a lot that was really good in international development that moved into support for economic development, which worked reasonably well in Europe, but it was transferred to many other places, and many of the efforts, well-meaning efforts, didn't succeed, right? And this was not a colonial project in the sense of domination, not primarily, but development practitioners came with great ideas and it didn't work. And where the participatory movement came into was to stress is just like, well, you came with projects for those people. You hardly ever ask people what it was that they wanted, and you certainly didn't involve them in the design. Maybe a little bit in the implementation, but you didn't involve people in the design. So purely pragmatically, the chance of those development projects succeeding was very low. My organization is Canada's International Development Research Center, was set up in 1970, and it's one of the few organizations that was already, I think, part in response to that. It's just like, what the international community needs to do is support, and we focus on research, not community development. We focus on research, and so like, okay, the role in international community has a role to support, to make sure that research to address development problems is based in countries. That's done by local researchers, and that's what IDRC has been done for 56 years. We've made many mistakes. I still think it's a great idea. We recognize the value of that exchange of knowledge, and that's why I still work there. And participatory research was almost naturally one of the first things that we supported. And as Rajesh, when it comes to IDRC, always says like a very small grant helped to motivate that movement. I think he's very generous in that. It's like this was, international funding has supported this, but it was because of the commitment of people like yourself, of course, that this has worked. But participatory, I think we since then, and like I said, what you do, sirs, is almost revolutionizing that. What increasingly all started to think about is like, well, but yes, we support research by local research in Malaysia and Indonesia, but it is still happening in those institutions. There's nothing to say about the commitment of it. It's still in the setup in the institutions which have those long history. Which, I mean, every university is different, but as you said, like many people said, like people still look up at Harvard, they still look up at Oxford, and up at and for very good reason. That still has that old model of universities, if you like. So increasingly, and that's what the recent work we've been doing, is that like, hey, we also need to think about how what needs to change in those institutions to really get to the point of making that knowledge for change. And the change is something that you define, but the type of knowledge, how it's generated, how it's embedded, also need to change, because we sit in such deep structures where the institutions, it's nothing. Recently, there's more commercialization, but a much longer history that it's really hard to do. So that's what I wanted. This is a very long movement where it's just so wonderful to see, of course, to sit on a stage with Rajesh, see how the collaboration here makes it into something what you've designed here. It just is an honor to be part of it. There's one last thing I want to say is I'd love to hear you say more about that. In the recent work that we do on the impact of climate change, I see the commitment, like your students here, right? That there are young people are willing to make that change, and while they're willing to. So for me, it's partly like universities, like that is already like driven by a new generation, right? You see the South Asia, the revolutionary movements, it's all driven by young. By young, a lot of it is driven by young people. Universities have no choice but to follow that, right? If universities don't teach, help their young students to engage in a different way that perhaps you and I were trained, right? We'd probably be out of a business anyway, right? So I mean, that's not to argue of who's got the most success in this, right? But I see that what I want to emphasize is that what I see is like we work with young research addressing issues of decline of coral reef and how they can restore that. Working with community, there's a drive there that actually makes me very, certainly in this region, very optimistic that there are ways in which we're addressing very big challenges. But again, that was way too much. I mostly just wanted to congratulate you on the work here and look forward to learn more about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arjan, Dr. Arhan Tihan. We do believe that community shouldn't be treated as only the unit of analysis, as normally we use in so many conventional research methodology textbook. Everybody knows this, but they have role in research. So I'm so glad that you touch on the issue of the future generations. I think the students at this university and elsewhere, we need to learn on how they are thinking on working with people. They are so creative, and we also need to also learn and also relearn a certain approach of working with the young people, especially the Gen Z. And I think we can only do this by partnering or doing it together with our partners. And we need to expand the definition of community organizations. Dr. Maliki has expertise in this youth movement, where it must be comprehensive, not just particularly focused on specific group of people, because it also involves so many entities, not just us, higher education, the villagers, but also the students there. We need to have so many partners over here. Over here, we do believe that Dr. Rajesh Tandon has the expertise of working with many people. He has observed the development, the revolution of K4C, and until we have now close to 30 hubs across the globe in so many field of expertise. So it's better for us to listen from Dr. Rajesh. And my question to you is what do you really hope to see, at least? Don't make it too visionary. It's very hard for us to interpret it in the next 2 or 3 years. We have mentors here coming from Surabaya and many other countries. So what do you think? And how are we going to mobilize this into the next level for the next generation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arjan. Thank you, Tanshi. Always you bring a new twist to the ideas which have inspired us for more than 2 decades. So it's for me, it's a special journey to this land, because there are lots of new things we have jointly created on this land. The some of you may remember, but let me say it again, that the phrase participatory research came out 50 years ago in 1975. And it was first used to say that learning, meaning education, most of the time in education, we forget that the purpose of education is learning. We do education. The role of the teacher is to educate, but the purpose is to enable learning. And we do research. We call ourselves researchers. We are paid to do research. But many a times, research for what? What's the purpose of research? And when the question is posed, purpose of research, then the answer is not very clear. But if we unpack research, what is research? Is to generate new knowledge, new understanding of phenomena. And why do we want new knowledge? Because existing knowledge is not working for us. We need new knowledge to address the challenges that we face. So the first use of the phrase participatory research was learning, knowing means knowledge, new knowing, and acting to change. So combining learning with knowing and changing is the initial utilization of the phrase participatory research. And now, 50 years later, participatory research seems to have acquired a new relevance or new status or new acceptability. But I'll tell you a story about. So I was involved in the network of participatory research in the late 70s, and I had a wonderful teaching job like Professor Mahajan in an Institute of Management in Calcutta, and all was going very well till I decided that who am I teaching management to? And what's the purpose of that? So anyway, encouraged by my friends, shocked by my family, I left my job and started Priya, a research and training institute dedicated to the idea of participatory research, by first practicing it in India and then taking it outside. So somebody said, you should get yourself legally incorporated. So I didn't know. So anyway, so I did some paperwork and went to the department which provides legal incorporation. And so that officer there said, people come to me for legal incorporation of school, training center, women's health. But what is this participatory research? And frankly, I couldn't explain at that time. I gave example, but it didn't cut much ice. A few months ago, I was invited to speak to a refresher course for senior government officials in India. And to my great, somewhat pleasant surprise, none of them asked this question, what is participatory research? Because they had begun to realize in their own work, be they were working in water or health or education or women's empowerment or whichever department they worked in, they had already started realizing the significance of participation, participatory methodologies to make their projects sustainable. Why I'm telling you this story, that in 1981-82, if you asked this question, my answer would have been hopeless. I have no idea how far this would go. But in 2025, I think I'm more hopeful. And the reason I'm hopeful is not because of you and me or Tansri and Arhan, is because the rest of the gang, which is sitting in the back rows, the young people there, and they all may look different, they may dress different, but in my view and experience, they all think alike. And they are sitting there wondering, am I going through this education only to make money or to make a difference? If I am only going through the education to make money, I better hurry up, because the world as it is may not last too long for me to make money. When you and I finished our master's program or whatever, we never saw an end to the world. But for the young people today, the end seems to be coming closer and closer, nearer and nearer. Not just in the context of the climate, but also so much violence and, as Tanshri was saying this morning, disharmony and imbalances. No society has survived by keeping a substantial section of its population impoverished. So, opportunities for everybody, inclusion for all, are essential for that, your idea of Mizan, as you formulated 10, 12 years ago. So, the challenge that is ahead is not the enthusiasm of young people. It is the unlearning of Professor Mahajan and his types. Why? Because you have been schooled in a way of teaching and doing research, which assumed, as you yourself said, that we do research on the community. There are communities about which books and books have been written, but in their lives hardly any change has happened. So how do Professor Mahajans of this world unlearn that they are the sole repositories of knowledge, develop what has come to be called epistemic humility, which means there are other forms of knowledge and one can be humble towards them, and also recognize that learning, knowing, and acting is context specific, situational. In the School of Management, where you're learning leadership, I learned 50 years ago, 55 years ago, that you could do situational leadership. I'm sure some of you have read that. Why? Because no style of leadership in of itself is relevant in all situations and contexts. So situational leadership demands preparation of your capacity to be able to offer 5 different styles of leadership depending on the situation. So taking that example, I am bringing it to Professor Mahajan's attention, situational research, so that your pedagogy of teaching research, the way you teach research, is linked to the context in which it is being implemented. We have been part of what we have called over the last 20 years knowledge democracy movement. Political democracy, economic democracy have been discussed, but knowledge democracy is not so common. And it is catching up because we are beginning to see recognition of diversities of knowledge. Each one of you sitting on those back benches, think of what you have learned from your grandmother who didn't go to university. And you may be surprised that that list may be longer than what you have learned from Professor Mahajan. So that is diversity of knowledge. And how do we respect that diversity, just as we want to respect biodiversity? Monoculture of any kind, biological or epistemic, knowledge-oriented monoculture, is harmful to societal well-being. And therefore, the purpose of K4C hubs, the movement of K4C, is to create opportunities for Professor Mahajans to unlearn and for you all at the early stage of your career to learn how you can respectfully work with diversity of knowledges without saying that I am stupid nor saying you are stupid. We are both smart. Our smartness varies a bit. You may be street smart, I may be digitally smart. How can we combine street smartness with digital smart? This needs to be encouraged and supported. And that's what the purpose of K4C hubs are. They will make our future generation of researchers contextually relevant. They would make them focus on issues which are relevant to the society they are part of, as well as begin to support the efforts of communities to find their own solutions with additional expertise that we can bring to that situation. So, as a knowledge democracy movement grows, the consortium of K4C needs to also step up. We have a number of cultures and countries where this is not happening at the moment. Um, we our research funding councils in our universities and our national councils still want us to have a research proposal where you have done literature review, you have written the research questions, you have detailed out methodologies, you have even fixed the survey instrument, and you have created the software package which will analyze. Some of them even want you to give an outline of the report. In future, this model is not going to work. Therefore, K4C can, as a movement, support efforts to make our research councils and research funders sensitive to this issue. And as I mentioned yesterday in a meeting with our K4C hubs, along with IDRC and other colleagues in the research world, we are trying to make this point across to research funders that there should be diversity available in research funding. We are not saying fund everything the way we do, but we are also saying fund something the way we do. And this challenge is there where young generation of researchers will ask this question more and more. Then research funding councils and their protocols will also become somewhat more diverse in order to accommodate the diversity of knowledge systems. So thank you very much, Mahajan, for making me hopeful.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Rajesh. Very beautiful conclusion of the work of K4C. And yes, you mean Mahazan and the mentors, right? We should unlearn and relearn the new process of working with the next generation, and it is very challenging indeed. But as long as there is interaction and engagement, even at the beginning level, we can get some motivation of continuously do the same work again and again. And what I can see from K4C is just very important part is this is a platform where the international association like UNESCO, IDRC, and higher education institution, we open the door of knowledge contribution coming from the community itself. So before this, they are just outside. We think that we know everything. We call them in. We give you offer letter. We make you our graduates. We give so many levels to many people. But this time, we are hoping that people like Kamaruddin, Hafiz, many NGOs here, and the schools also involved. And the learning process must be engaging. Then we correct the process of how we basically saying that this is knowledge for the benefits of everyone. Thank you very much to Dr. Rajesh Tandon, Dr. Arjan, and also Professor Tan Sri Zul. I'm not sure whether we have time for the question and answers, but we can talk more after this. Also, we have Mr. Zarif. Zarif back there. Thank you very much for coming. And also, and also Fatiha. They are doing work on this wellness and psychology part, psycho-spiritual aspect. Thank you very much for coming. And I hope that from this short discussion, it opened up our perspective about what is knowledge for change, especially for the students. Maybe you go to level 3, you can see that corner. We call it the research corridor of FKP. Prof. Dato, tingkat 3, we have research corridor of FKP approved by the JKPU in 2016. So I keep that JKPU, and whenever they want to talk about it, I just put it aside. I don't want to change the decision. To be honest, thank you very much for the Universiti Sains Islam Malaysia, to TNCPI, and also our respected distinguished speakers for enlightening us about K4C, and let's collaborate on how to have a better world through education. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum. Yeah, sure, Dasri.
I just want to add to substantiate what you were saying. When I introduced sustainable development in USM for the first time, I approached all the professors and I say we're going to go into sustainable development this year 2005. And we brief a little bit of what sustainable development is all about. But there was no response. In fact, there was a negative response. I remember one fellow said, I became a professor without even uttering this word sustainable development. If you ask me to do it, I will resign and go to another university. And it was very, very negative. So I say, okay, see, if you don't want it, it's okay. Then I call in the students. I told the students about sustainable development, and the students understand this like duck to water. The students say, this is what we want, because our future will depend on this. This is how we're going to do it, and so on and so forth. So sustainable development in USM, for whatever it is now, is driven by the students per se, not the staff. So when lectures come in, then the student will ask the professor, where is sustainable development in your lecture? The professors cannot say, you ask that question again, I will resign and go to another university. The students are forcing the professors, the lecturers, to think along what they want them to think. That is the power of the students. So I want you to remember that if you want to make a change, it starts with you, not with him. He opens the door, but you need to make the change. We open the door for you, but if you just keep quiet and you think you are, quote unquote, not deserving for this change, then I think the whole thing is over. Yeah? So I want to share this because this is what, at the end of the day, if you think USM is good on sustainable development, it's about the students. It's not. Now the lecturers are coming in slowly because there is acceptance. Yeah, and I think my point is the students is the power for change, and we need to empower you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to add anything? Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. And I hand over the session back to Sarah. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to all of our distinguished speakers, Professor Tan Sri Dato Dzulkifli, Abdul Razak, Dr. Arhan, as well as Dr. Rajesh Tandon, for such a thought-provoking and inspiring discussion. Of course, we cannot forget our deepest appreciation also goes to our moderator, Professor Dr. Mahathir Abdul Muttalib, for leading the conversation and gaining insights from the speakers. This session has truly highlighted the importance of collaboration, innovation, and shared responsibility in community and higher education. I will invite our distinguished speakers to return to their seats. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Thanks. Very good.
Now, to conclude this afternoon's keynote session, we are honored to invite Professor Dato Dr. Muhammad Tauffik Muhammad Noor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, to deliver the closing speech. Please, I invite you to come on stage.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chairperson. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. The Honorable Dr. Rajesh Tandon, UNESCO co-chair in community-based research and social responsibility in higher education, Dr. Arjan di Haan, senior program specialist, IDRC, International Development Research Center, and Honorable Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dato Dzulkifli bin Abdul Razak, founder for K4C, Mizan Knowledge for Change Hub. Welcome back, Tan Sri, to USIM. Associate Professor Dr. Nohayati Rafida Abdul Rahim, Deputy Dean, Research and Innovation, Faculty of Leadership and Management, USIM. Dr. Muhammad Maliki bin Muhammad Rafi'i, Director of IYC, International Youth Center. Dr. Nabila Nelly, Head of International Office UNISA, Universitas Islam Negeri Sunan Ampel, UNSA Surabaya. Welcome, Doctor. Noor Wahyudi, Lecturer, Faculty of Science and Technology, UNSA, Universitas Islam Negeri Sunan Ampel, Surabaya. Dr. Wendy Yee, Principal from Soka International School, Malaysia. Professor Dr. Ahmad Ismail, President, Malaysia Ecological Society. And I've seen my good friend, Dr. Dzulkifli Johar just came in. I think everyone knows him. He's a senator. He's a senator for Dewan Negara with the interest on community-based project and research. Thank you, Dr. Dzulkifli, for your time. Respective guests, delegates, students, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It has been always a challenge for me, Tan Sri, to keep myself fit in this hall. Why? Because of the coldness of the hall. So I've been telling Deputy Dean just now, how lavish we are, in managing the lecture hall, where we can keep the hall such cool, whereas we should be apa kata berjimat, we should be berjimat dalam perbelanjaan kita. Okay. So again, I would like thank you very much, our international delegates. So it has been a pleasure for me on behalf of the university management, on behalf of the deputy vice, on behalf of yang bahagia Profesor Vice Chancellor USIM, yang bahagia Datuk TS Sharifuddin, to come to this event, to meet you all, to meet everyone for this such important event, which is the closing ceremony of the launching of the UNESCO K4C Regional Training Center. And I would like to congratulate also to Prof Mizan for such an effort for this bringing in this event to USIM, the ceremony of this launching of the UNESCO Knowledge for Change Regional Training Center. So it is we in USIM are truly proud and meaningful. It is a meaningful day for USIM, for this K4C global family. Today's event marks not just the opening of the training center, but a symbol of USIM's growing commitment to bridging knowledge and community research and impact theory and practice. And again, I would like to express appreciation and congratulations to the Faculty of Leadership and Management, under especially to Associate Professor Dr. Khairul Nizam Muhammad Noor and the Mizan K4C Hub for their tireless efforts in making this events and initiative a success. Yeah. We also like to, my gratitude also goes to the organizing committee, the participants from various Asia countries, and our international collaborators who have contributed their time, expertise, and patience to this effort. Yeah. We are also deeply honored for the presence of two important guests, figures in this global K4C movement, no other than Dr. Rajesh Tandon, the co-chair of the UNESCO chair in the community-based research and social responsibility in higher education, and of course, Dr. Arjan Haan, the senior program specialist, IDRC. Thank you very much for your dedications and vision, which have inspired thousands of community-based researchers around the world. So on behalf of USIM, I would like to record our deep appreciation for your continuous support, mentoring, and partnership with the Mizan K4C Hub. I have listened, to the discussion earlier from all the various speakers, and we in USIM actually we support the project of community-based research. Yeah, I personally, when I was speaking to Dr. Rajesh earlier, I'm a community person. Yeah, I'm a community person. My background, I'm a professor in family medicine, and I look after the community of cancer patients. When I came back from my training, from overseas, my task was to develop a community-based palliative care center, and it was first formed in Cheras area. It was a so-called urban community-based support center for the cancer patients, the dying patients. And when I moved to Sabah, I remember I moved to Sabah, I was assigned to develop the community-based cancer care patients at the rural area. And Alhamdulillah, I can see the importance of this community participatory research project for the benefits of the people in the community, and more so especially in the rural area. In USIM, we are focusing we are focusing on this community-based research project, and we could see, and I think it has been quite successful in producing a lot of impactful community research in the areas, not only in the social science, but also in the science, the medical, the dentistry, and also in the engineering field. And more importantly is that we have made an impact towards the community society of the people with disability. We have our UMI Center, which is the a research center for the children with disability, and we have come up with a lot of projects and also some guidelines on how to improve the welfare of these people with disability, not only on the religious aspect but also on the holistic aspect of their life, the wellness of their life. So therefore, I think it is uh, it is uh, it is really privilege actually for USIM to have this Mizan K4C Research Center as our research institution, and to improve not only the knowledge but also the knowledge integration, and also to offer the social responsibility to the community. Through its work, the Mizan K4C Hub connects scholars, students, and community leaders to co-create solutions that are ethical, inclusive, and sustainable. It reflects the very essence of what research should be, not just knowledge for people, but knowledge with the people. In this regard, I would like to take this opportunity also to encourage the Mizan K4C Hub to focus on specific community-based research initiative involving indigenous and minority groups, especially in Negeri Sembilan and Selangor, where a Faculty of Leadership and Management has long been involved in the community engagement projects. This community represent a vital part of Malaysia's social and cultural landscape. However, they also face unique challenges related to education, economy, and cultural preservation. By deepening engagement through participatory research, we can ensure that their voices are heard and their wisdom is being respected. Let us see them not as a subject of study, but as partners of knowledge creation, co-creators who help us understand the local solution to global issues such as sustainability, resilience, and social justice. Therefore, I believe USIM will give its contribution to the K4C movement even more meaningful and globally relevant. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, let us remember that community-based research is not only about generating data, it is about building trust, empathy, and mutual growth between universities and communities. Through the Regional Training Center, USIM is not only building capacity at the local level, but also positioning Malaysia as a regional leader in the field of community-based participatory research. This is a step forward in aligning ourselves with the SDG and the UNESCO missions of inclusive, ethical, and responsible knowledge creation. Before I conclude, once again, I would like to extend my deep appreciation to Dr. Rajesh again and Dr. Arjan, the Haan, for your steadfast support and for this support to the Mizan K4C Hub and your guidance throughout this journey. Your partnership has been invaluable, and we look forward to expanding this collaboration to cultivate more research and innovations program that benefits not only academic institution but also to the wider community. To all participants and mentors and researchers, I hope that the discussions and the sessions held today will spark new ideas, new partnership, and new pathways for research that truly serves the humanity. Let us continue to strengthen our collaboration under the K4C movement and let this regional training center be a beacon of hope, inclusivity, and innovation for Asia and beyond. With that, I hereby close to this launching ceremony of the UNESCO K4C Regional Training Center, RTC Asia USIM. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our efforts and guide us towards continuous success. Thank you and wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Tauffik, for your inspiring remarks and for reaffirming USIM's dedication to impactful collaboration and lifelong learning activities. We have almost reached the end of today's evening program, but before we end, we will now proceed with the exchange of souvenirs and tokens of appreciation between USIM and our distinguished partner. First, I would like to invite Dr. Rajesh, accompanied by Professor Mizan, to come forward for our gift exchange.
I gave him the book.
Okay. Sorry for that.
This is for you. He has been given the book.
So we move forward.
This is a scarf of UNESCO chair.
Wow. This is really
We hereby invite you to be part of our family.
very lovely.
On behalf of my co-chair, the Patwal, and myself, thank you very much for the support for the movement.
Thank you, Professor Tauffik, Dr. Rajesh, as well as Professor Mahdi. With that, we officially conclude today's K4C Regional Training Center RTC Asia opening ceremony and keynote sessions. But before that, I would like to invite all delegates to proceed to the front of the lobby of the faculty, which is just a 2-minute walk here. Okay, and then it is for the hall launching ceremony and photo session. Will be done over there. Okay, all right.